podcast.
We're back here in Arata Studios with our guest this week, Steve Jablonsky. And Steve, I hope you're ready.
I'm not.
You're going to be introduced to the game that's sweeping social media. Don't forget to use that hashtag, name that score.
Poker, is it? Oh.
It's time. Hit it, Matt.
Get ready to play Name That Score! The film music game where a perfect score means you, yes you, could be a winner. Now let's play Name That Score!
Wow.
You can see how seriously we take the game.
Did you bring Henry
This
Mancini
is
back
so nice.
from the grave to write that?
That
was
is
very
so
nice.
That's
Yep.
right. Again, it's very tasteful. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So here's the way this game plays. Name that score. We play 5 famous film scores, but in reverse. These have all been flipped. Reverse. So you'll choose from 3 multiple choice answers. The 5th and final question is worth double points. If anyone sweeps the table, gets all of these, we give away a prize to our listeners. And because the best scores have a theme, so does today's game. And the theme today is sports movies.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Batter up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Backwards sports movies.
some of these you'll
Backwards sports
recognize.
movies.
They get progressively difficult as we go along.
So
here.
I have to get all of them right, and then someone will win?
Or somebody does. Yeah,
Or
somebody
somebody.
does.
Oh,
If
we're
any
all
of us
playing.
get them right, then we
Oh,
give away a
good.
prize.
I have a
just me.
very tried and true technique. I listen to what the composer says.
Okay.
They're almost always right,
Oh,
and
God.
then I agree.
So Robert always gets the first or second, and then we make him go last.
Oh,
after that.
God.
Okay.
So here we go.
That's not all
Question 1. Is this the music from A League of Their Own by Hans Zimmer, Chariots of Fire, or Moneyball by Michael Dana? Did you work on Moneyball?
I didn't,
Okay.
but I liked it.
Here we go. Question 1.
Robert's
Well,
raising
I
his
mean-
hand.
Robert knows.
And he did it in slow motion, too.
I am going to say with great certitude that it is Vangelis.
Yeah.
Chariots of Fuego.
Everybody says,
Chariots. Yep.
oh, look, it sounds almost the same when you play it the other way around.
That's the magic.
All right, so points for everybody on that.
I
Vangelis or
remember
Vangelis?
in the playground running around in fake slow motion to that song. I think everyone probably has that story.
At one
Okay,
point or another.
we'll talk about this later. I think that it's something I'm not sure you want to share with the audience.
Oh, they want to
Question 2.
I was
Is
by
this
myself, too.
the music from Jerry Maguire, Rocky, or Caddyshack?
I think it's important. Do we know the composers of each
yeah,
one? 'Cause
Nancy Wilson for Jerry Maguire, Rocky, Bill Conti, or Caddyshack, Johnny Mandel.
Good to know. Here we go.
Steve's nodding his head.
I mean, huge influence on me as a kid. Should I say?
Yeah,
Go
you go
for it.
Bill Conti, Rocky.
All right. Everybody?
I am so certain that Steve is correct because of the way his body language the minute he heard it.
What
I'm
set
going.
it off? What set it off for you?
I just know that theme. You could play it backwards,
Yeah.
and I'll know it.
The texture is
Yeah,
pretty...
the sound of 70s brass.
trying to get a sense of what the composers are listening for versus us just being like, oh, that's a song. You probably hear certain instruments stand out. That one's a little more obvious, though.
The
So the
brass
first
of
two-
that score has a very specific from that era
It's even
sound.
a register. It's
Yeah,
a register the brass
yeah.
playing that's
It's
sort
so
of
good.
Yeah.
Points for everybody on that one.
Right
So
on.
everyone is perfect so far. The questions are getting a little tougher here. So
Uh-oh.
question 3.
It's like HQ.
Is this The Natural by Randy Newman, Seabiscuit, also by Randy Newman, or Space Jam by James Newton Howard, who's just the next building over? Robert thinks he knows.
I'm going
Steve,
with
too.
the final cue in The Natural, where the
nice.
ball goes over the fence and it knocks the lights out.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
a-
the natural.
I'm going to go with Robert's choice on that. Although it kind of reminded me of The Sandlot a little bit, just hearing it.
That's the junior version of The Natural, actually, narratively.
And Steve,
Yeah.
The Natural?
Randy Newman, another hero of mine, yes.
it is from The Natural. Great score.
Oh my
Great
God.
score. A real breakthrough for Randy Newman.
Did they use that in The Sandlot?
I think they've used it in other films for sure.
Yeah, they've
I
used
wonder
it.
if it's in The Sandlot, because that
That's funny.
immediately set a trigger for me on.
Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
possible.
it's good.
All right, so 3 for 3, everybody. We got 2 questions
I like
left.
The correct.
There is a bonus question which we may get to if we're still tied up at the end. But we'll move on to question 4. Is this from Remember the Titans, Trevor Rabin, Hoosiers, Jerry Goldsmith, or Cool Runnings by Hans Zimmer? Did you work on Cool Runnings?
I did not.
You did not. All
That was
right.
before my time. I have
Remember
an
the
answer.
Titans, Hoosiers, Cool Runnings.
I'm going to go with Remember the Titans.
That's my guess, Trevor.
I'm feeling strongly that to go in any other direction would be a mistake. I'm going to Remember the Titans.
It is Remember the Titans.
I always think of Trevor Rabin's story in the documentary score.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. You've heard this a million times.
He didn't ask, which I wasn't particularly
Oh, right.
happy about.
At the Obama Victory
Right.
Night speech.
Yeah.
Right? You played that.
Trevor's such a good guy.
Yep.
All right,
Great
so
guy.
4 for 4. So we might have a bonus question. This last question's worth double. Doesn't matter for us because we're all tied up. So if one of you gets this one wrong, then
We got to stick together here so someone wins a prize, though.
Yes.
Don't go rogue, Robert.
Here we go. Question 5: Is this Radio by James Horner, Rudy, Jerry Goldsmith, or Miracle by Mark Isham? Steve's nodding his head.
Rudy.
Is it? Yeah. Sean Astin?
Yep.
I'm feeling strongly that Steve is correct.
Look at that
I don't-
move Robert did. He gave
Yeah.
a little point with the pen.
Yeah.
What is it? What do you think, Steve?
What do you think? Are you Rudyizing?
If you were on Jeopardy, you'd just be like peeking over at the screen. What are you writing?
Potpourri for 200.
I'm gonna. Steve was so confident.
Radio, Rudy, Miracle.
Rudy.
God, I hope
Let's
I'm
go,
right.
Rudy.
Please be right. Oh,
Points for everybody.
Oh,
Everybody's
right.
I
perfect.
suddenly had fear that I was wrong, but
So-
no. It's just such an iconic phrase, that horn line.
So great, Jerry
You're right.
Goldsmith.
Yeah,
Oh, Goldsmith.
of course.
All right, so this means everybody has run the table.
Yes.
We got a bonus question that
Bonus
we're going to
round.
play here.
Let me
I
listen
do
to this
have
score.
options for this one, and we'll see. I have a feeling this one may, based on. Well, we'll go ahead and play.
Scare
Question number 6.
us. Uh-oh.
Is this Creed by
The
Ludwig
band?
Göransson?
Oh, the movie.
With arms wide.
Is this Friday Night Lights, Explosions in the Sky? Or is this Moneyball, Michael Dana? We're going to make Kenny go first.
Choices again?
Choices are Creed, Friday Night Lights, and Moneyball.
I'm gonna go with Friday Night Lights.
Robert.
Is that the Explosions in the Sky score? Because that's the
Maybe.
band.
I was a little
Yes.
too heavy-handed with
Yes.
this earlier, wasn't I?
Yes, that's the one.
Yes, Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights, it is. And here is that the actual score in forward. These guitars. Has this been used for temp music on anything you've worked on?
That's a good question. I don't think so. It may have been used in Lone Survivor because they were a part of that score.
Oh, really?
Originally,
Yeah.
we were supposed to write together, but they asked Pete, and I fully admire this and respect this. They said, "Can we try to do this on our own?" And Pete called me and said I said, "Yeah, that's fine, whatever." And I would have loved to work with them, but at some point down the road, Pete called me and said, "Can you come in and just there's some scenes that we'd like you to do?" And I said, "Fine." And so it's just I would have liked to work with the guys, but I understand them wanting to do it by themselves.
Well, since everybody's perfect, we haven't had this yet. We're going to have to make the
I have a
questions more
bonus
difficult.
question. I have a bonus question, number 7, which is
Uh-oh.
not musical. It's a 6 degrees of separation, really random bonus question for all of you. It's an entertainment question.
Yep. Should we
Can
play
you-
our outro first?
Yes.
We need to bookend the
He
game.
did,
We
so
got to
yes.
get out of that.
Can anyone here tell me the relationship between the series Friday Night Lights, not the film, the series, and the film that Steve scored, Battleship? Do you know the connective tissue?
I know one.
There's only one that I can think of, and you may know it.
Is it the actor?
Correct.
What's his name?
Ah,
He's a big
see?
shot now.
Rihanna.
And it's not Rihanna.
Oh, no.
Do you know the actor's name?
It's Landry from Friday Night Lights.
Correct. That's my question. It's the 6 degrees of separation. You may have to drop away from winning a prize on this. Taylor Kitsch is our
right.
winner of the day. Thank you. That's
I
our
didn't know he
bonus
was in the
question.
show.
Oh, yeah.
He was
have
the-
to admit that.
He was the star of the.
He was the star,
one of
yeah.
the stars of the series, and then I know that Battleship was both a huge get for him and also turned out to be maybe not so beneficial.
Right. You never know with these.
You never
These
know.
things.
That's one of the nice things about the entertainment business. Every day is a guess.
Yeah.
If Alex Trebek decides to retire, Robert Kraft.
I would.
If Alex
Be fine
Trebek
with that.
marries, that's what I thought you were going to say.
6 degrees of separation.
I think we had one more question for Steve. I know I did. I was always interested in the fact that the movies, the Transformer films, had a big rock song at the end,
Right.
either a Linkin Park song or then Imagine Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Did you mentioned Explosion in the Sky, how you wanted to work with them. Did you ever have a chance to work with the bands? Or would those songs just come in and be tacked on to the end of the movie?
Fortunately, I can say that I did get to work with these amazing bands. Linkin Park was the first. They came into the studio because I don't know whose idea it actually was. If it was Michael's or mine or everyone's idea to not just tack it on at the end, but to actually have elements of the song in the score throughout, so that when it plays at the end, it's not just a song at the end. It means something more.
Yeah.
And the Linkin Park guys were great. They came in, they gave me all their tracks, and we recorded some new tracks, all based around the song. And so I had this huge library of their stuff
Nice.
that I used, that I could say, that piano phrase from that song could work really nicely here.
That's great.
Oh, cool.
And I would write strings around it or whatever. And the same with Imagine Dragons. Even that was another level, where I went to their studio in Vegas and we recorded a bunch of stuff. They recorded on my themes. We didn't just focus on their song. I would put up my themes and they would just riff and do these amazing things, and I'd be like, wow, this is amazing.
That is so cool.
Do you ever sit back? I mean, you have such a cool story, just giving Hans a call. Do you ever sit back and just go, this is crazy that this path happened?
Yeah, when people ask, I go, I really don't know how it all happened, how I ended up in a room with Imagine Dragons.
I was going to say, you're
recording
so
stuff and
kind of humble, not even kind of, you're so humble about the fact that you were sitting with two of the biggest rock bands on the planet,
right.
working on music together, which is just wonderful.
And this whole period working with Hans and growing up, listening to, would you have ever thought that
No.
10 years from then, 5 years from then, you would be writing music and Hans would be saying, wow, that's pretty good.
Nope.
I guess we're going to have to write great music now for this movie.
No, not even for a second.
I think it's actually fitting that your career's actually hit a peak with doing Score, the podcast. I mean,
It's
I don't
all
know how you're
downhill now.
You're gonna ever match it. Yeah,
I might as well retire.
This was the moment. I would say that today would be kind of a good day to say, after this, what else is there?
You said you had a John Williams story.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you just mentioned about the Zimmer saying, wow, that's a great piece of music. I think my first exposure to film score was owning the Star Wars album, the vinyl, when I was 7. And I remember holding it and opening it, and there's Darth Vader's face, and just loving this music without really even understanding why I was. And so I think a lot of composers will tell you that same story. John Williams introduced them to this idea of, people write music for movies. It doesn't just magically appear in film. Somebody has to write that. But we share the same, I'll make it quick. We share the same agent, John and I. So I get invited to his big Hollywood Bowl concert every year.
Yeah.
And the first time I went, this was years ago, 5 years or so ago, I because we shared the same agent, they invited me backstage after the show, and Michael Gorfain, my agent, introduced me to John and said, "John, this is Steve Jablonsky." And of course, I'm trying to keep it together because he's standing right there, and he goes, "Oh yes, Steve, I know a lot about you. I've been wanting to meet you," and it looked like he was being genuine. Whether he was lying or not, I don't care.
John Williams has
I know.
ungenuine bone in his
he's
body.
the most genuine and also a humble human being considering what he's done. And I was like, well, I don't even know what I said. I can't remember what I said to that. But the fact that he knew,
That's wonderful.
yeah, that. I mean,
And
I
then
don't
the
know what else to
ambulance
say. Just thinking
came
about it
and-
now. The ambulance.
Well, I was gonna say,
carried you
I blacked
away.
out.
You didn't hear the second part of the conversation, which is John Williams saying to Gorfain, "Why is Jablonsky getting all those gigs and I'm not?" Mike, you gotta jump in there. He's envious of you.
Oh,
All right. Well, Steve, we want to thank you again for having us in your studio and joining us on the podcast. Reminder to the listeners, this is a new podcast. We're trying to get the word out. So please tell a friend if you like what you're hearing, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Also, make sure to follow us at Score the Podcast on Twitter, and use that hashtag #NameThatScore, because we are giving away a prize this week.
Hey, for Matt Schrader, Kenny Holmes, I'm Robert Kraft. I want to thank Steve for welcoming us and sharing so much of your great story with us.
thank you.
Score the Podcast is genuinely thrilled to have you as a guest today.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Kenny, Robert, and Matt.